I'm talking specifically about the technical side of data governance content, of information about your thing. So the technical information, system-specific information, and we'll go into this sort of a high-level information around each of your system details, and then the technical data model information within that, as opposed to the functional system-agnostic information around your business glossary or definition of things. So this is all just very specifically doing that. So if we're trying to capture this information about the different systems, what is a data system? We define that, excuse me, very broadly as any source or target for data processing. So, and we group them into two different areas. This is sort of our language. You can get whatever language you want, but we talk about sort of database type data systems and protocol type data systems. Now, they can be considered two sides of a coin on it, but a database type might be, any sort of accessible application database that you have within your organization. So either on-premise or in the cloud, but something that you're able to query directly or hook up a reporting tool to, or an ETL tool to pull information out. And that might include, the application itself, or a database for an operational data store, or a data warehouse, or reporting data model, which might be physical or logical. Doesn't necessarily matter as long as you're talking about something like, hey, we're going to be reporting off of this particular system. It might also include things like spreadsheets or even unstructured data sets, as long as it's sort of directly accessible to you without having to go through some layer. A protocol data type data system is something that is we classify as like a flat file, maybe, that you're pulling out of a data system and it's getting used to, come from one source to a flat file, and then that flat file is getting sent to a regulatory agency or imported into another system. Or maybe even an API or other sort of standalone, view or something for accessing a data system where you don't have direct access to that database, and in order to interact with that system, either as a source or target for your, for pulling or pushing data for whatever reason, that you're doing that through a protocol. And you can consider those two exactly the same, but it has a little bit of a distinction as you think about it. But I think it's important to the reason I specify protocol type is that people don't forget to document those things, because oftentimes there's interesting or relevant transformations or assumptions or details around the data in flight, or in the way that it is presented in an API or a view, as opposed to in the actual database. So something to think about. Oftentimes a system may have more than one, an application may have more than one data system by my definition. I usually think of those two things as things that you can't sort of query or access together. You can't join between them. So you can think of them as separate data systems. Don't worry too much about that. It's an interesting distinction. The main takeaway is that these things like flat files or APIs, if you can't access the actual database, are often important things to document. So here's a little example of a relatively complicated but not unusual data business intelligence sort of reporting infrastructure. You've got a data system that has like an ETL process that's pulling data out and loading a staging database or an operational data store that then has an ETL process that loads a data warehouse or a data mart or a data lake, and then maybe there's an ETL or view or queries into either a physical or logical reporting model, and then reports that are sort of built off that model. So in our world, like, all of these things are data systems. You've got a data system here, a data system, I shouldn't say protocol, but a data system here, data system here, data system here. Each one of these things are considered a data system because it's really, even if it might be logical, it's something that you're reporting directly off of. It's a source or target for this thing. Now you also may have, maybe flat file extracts or APIs that are feeding this because you can't access that data system, and then that's what becomes that protocol data system, which is what